Japanese fashion and art go hand in hand. The amount of artists that either start their own fashion projects or work within the world of fashion are too many to count. Hell, there's too many outside of Japan. This is a lot out there. But since we are here, here in Tokyo it's high time we celebrate some Japanese artists that have killed it in fashion. Some you know, some you may not, some are new, and some are a part of history. Yes, we're going that far back. But I got 7. I'm your boy Reggie Casual. Let's get it. Katsushika Hokusai. First off, have you seen this image? Don't answer that, I know you have, but just in case you've been living under a rock for about 200-300 years, this is the Great Wave off Kanagawa, otherwise known as Kanagawa Okinami-yura, done by the legendary Japanese ukiyo-e artist Hokusai, who was born in 1760. Now, it may seem weird to you to put a guy here who is, ancient, but to say his work, which is actually part of a set named the 36 Views of Mount Fuji, isn't one of the most recognizable images from Japan or on Earth is, well, that would be dumb. It would be dumb because it is recognizable. Everybody knows what this is. It would be dumb. It's no wonder this image has been used in numerous products, but fashion has certainly used it more times than we can count. Tees, jackets, shirts, bags, pretty much anything you can think of has had this image on it. Shoes, everything. Uniqlo used it, designers have referenced it. The image is classic in every sense of the word. So yeah, Hokusai gets on this list because history implores us to do so. Now you know a little bit about Japanese history and the guy who did this image. Kine, not kind, but kine. Kine isn't ancient like Hokusai. He's considerably younger and he's still here with us. The Fukuoka board designer isn't the biggest name yet, but he's making incredible waves. All puns intended with that one. Yeah, that was intended. With a phenomenal style that, as he explains it, is birthed from 80s popular culture, traditional Nihonga, and the Showa era manga, which results in much of his art featuring moody expressions of 80s Japanese idols. And it's damn cool to see it in action. And side note, Kine was one of the first artists I got into when I returned to Japan. I absolutely love his work. His grit has led him to working with several fashion brands, including but not limited to Chari & Co., Beams, Kiyonaga & Co., and Adidas. And while the next guy on this list may have way more influence, Kine is certainly on his way to becoming the definitive number 2. Verdi. By now, the name Verdi has become a part of the general lexicon of the streetwear community. Born in Osaka 1987, Verdi actually had a tough time finding his style as a graphic designer. He struggled some years before having a chance trip to LA and developing his eventual Girls Don't Cry label, which was a present to his wife. He's such a good husband, I guess. He made a few shirts and people began asking what brand it was, and the snowball effect happened. Thing about it is, Verdi is a master student of graphic design and is heavily informed by the Urahara generation before him. He cites Nigo and Skate Thing as his inspiration, as well as 80s graphics like those seen on Black Flag, Gangrene, and Minor Threat. Now, Verdi is one of the biggest names in street, working with a slew of brands like Nike SB, Human Made, Uniqlo, Undefeated, and Undercover, all while maintaining his limited pop-up labels, Wasted Youth, and Girls Don't Cry. Skate Thing. Yeah, this is one of those obvious ones that everyone who knows was just waiting to pop up on this list. The enigmatic Skate Thing is one of the more elusive artists in modern Japanese culture, but his contributions are among some of the most noteworthy. Despite having no formal education in art, story is he actually was just introduced to an Apple computer by Hiroshi Fujiwara, so go figure. That said, Skate Thing has created some of the most iconic designs in Japanese streetwear. In fact, while most don't credit him with this, Skate Thing actually conceived Bape with Nigo after a Planet of the Apes marathon, or so the story goes. But we're talking about a legend here, no matter if that's true or not, having designed for nearly every Japanese brand you know about. Bape logo, check. Billionaire Boys Club logo and graphics, check. Ice cream, check. Double taps, check. Human Made, check. You name it, Skate has probably done it, culminating in his own label Cap Ip he started with Toby Feltwell and Hishiyama Yutaka in 2011. Plain and simple, dude is Japanese fashion royalty, and most people outside of his close circle haven't even seen his face. Some might have. Yayoi Kusama or Kusama Yayoi, either way, Japanese or English, pick one. Yeah, this was the consensus. She better be on this list if you serious about Japanese art. Pick. Kusama certainly deserves a full WTH to appreciate her influence and overall contributions to art, but one thing is for sure, she's one of the few on this list that I can honestly say you would want to have hung out with when she was in her heyday. Maybe that's just me. Besides having fashion shows that devolved into sex fests and throwing illegal orgies, this is not a joke, this is true. Kusama is one of the most influential Japanese artists ever. Her polka dots, pop art, and fearlessness define her work, and the admiration for her extends beyond borders. While she ran an ill-fated label, the Kusama Fashion Company, in 1968, it actually had very early success, selling at about 400 boutiques across the states, which was admirable. And she had her own fixture at Bloomingdale's, the Kusama Corner as they called it. She worked with Marc Jacobs for an LV collaborative effort, and her avant-garde design approach predates some of the most influential designers that we know about, like Margiela and Kawakubo. In fact, Rei Kawakubo pretty much loves Kusama and has worked with her on occasion. And in this era, Kusama at the tender age of 92 plus is having a renaissance as more and more are being introduced to her via social media. But one thing is clear, when you think polka dots, from now on, you should think Sex Fest and Kusama, or just Yayoi Kusama is fine, and polka dots. You should just think that. Hajime Sorayama or just Sorayama. Do you like sexy robots? I like the sexy robots. Sure. Why did I say it like that? Anyway, well, if you like sexy robots, then you'll love Sorayama. Dude is the king of ing in more ways than one, if you get what I'm saying. But seriously, Sorayama is a legend and will certainly get his very own WTH as well. But for the purposes of this list, it's important to note that this sexy robot artist and his style actually came by chance. He was commissioned to draw like C-3PO for a Suntory ad back when he was working at an advert agency. Predictably, copyright issues came up, so he had to draw something from scratch and on his own. And so he drew the robot, and then he started drawing sexy ones. But the list of fashion brands he has worked with is lengthy due to those robots. Extra large, Ambush, Nike, Mizuno, Uniqlo, Stussy, Huff, Beams, Dior. I mean, the list goes on. Dude is a legend, so I won't go too much into detail until we give him a real breakdown. He deserves that much. Just know Sorayama and fashion are pretty much a match made in sexual robot heaven. Takashimurakami, or Murakami Takashi, or just Murakami, either way. This is the one we were waiting for, right? You were waiting for this one. You know it. I mean, it's completely obvious Murakami was gonna top off this list. It's just weird to say top off after I was talking about sexy robots, so don't mind that. Anyway, it's just another case of if we go too much into detail with Murakami, we won't be able to do his WTH. So we won't go into too much detail. We'll wait for that one. But for the purposes of this list, Takashimurakami's self-described super flat style is probably one of the most recognizable to the Westerner, as the artist has worked with pretty much everyone. As such, his resume is dummy long. But what makes Murakami so popular is his openness about his art, never admitting he's a good artist, he's just lucky. Murakami's actions, though, tell a different story, building restaurants, galleries, and even full-blown statues in the middle of Roppongi. Murakami is by far one of the most successful artists, let alone Japanese artists, to ever do it. As a result, the labels he has worked with in fashion, do I really need to list them all? No? Okay. Good, because here's just a sample. Louis Vuitton, Supreme, Porter, OVO, Off-White, Billionaire Boys Club, Vault by Vans, Visvum, Comme des Garçons, Uniqlo. I mean, the list goes on like that for quite a while. I can't list them all. And he ain't stingy either. Murakami also manages several artists through his Kaikai Kiki gallery, ushering in a new wave of individuals to pass the torch to. So, killed it in fashion is probably an understatement when talking about Murakami. Probably the only individual that could compare at this juncture is Cause, and that's saying a lot, cause Cause is everywhere, cuz. That was good. And that's all she wrote for this list, but there are certainly more. And in the future, maybe we'll point out some other artists from Japan and beyond doing big things in the world and in Japan. I just said that. Or maybe you could suggest someone or a list you'd like to explore. Let it all be known in the comments down there. Follow up with us on Patreon for extra content, our brand building series class, and our private Discord. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international fashion culture and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. And I will see you guys in a minute.